Hello, Jazz Tech. Ben Medler here. I got a request for a demonstration on how to do these presentations for last week's assignment. And so I don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to throw something together really quickly. I've looked up Mark Taylor arrangement of Earth, Wind & Fire's September and found Pembroke High School jazz band playing it. And so I'm going to turn this camera around and just show you about a half a minute of it. And then I will give you an example of how I would demonstrate that in a minute, a presentation plan. Okay, so here is the video, and let me get a fresh start on it. Okay, here we go. If you don't know this song, this is Earth, Wind & Fire's classic song, one of their top hits called September. Really great band. Okay, let me turn the camera around and give you some ideas. Okay, so first of all, the purpose of doing these 1-minute presentations is because when you're directing in front of the kids, you need to be able to sight read with your thoughts ahead of what they're doing at that time. So if you wait for them to stop and then you figure out what you're going to do, they will eat you alive. So you want to get that thought process going ahead of time, and this is a practice session for doing that. So that's the purpose for these 1-minute demonstrations, is just so that you yourself can practice in less than a minute the job for the day. So in this particular case, I guess I wanted to also mention that nobody really feels like jazz band directors need to be experts. It's a pretty tough language, and it really does take a lot of experience. So we're all pretty excited about everyone getting better. So this director has a couple things that I would suggest that he changes. And the first thing is to get the language of the piece happening. I'm guessing that this director grew up hearing Earth, Wind & Fire, so he probably knows very well what it sounds like. But the band is not speaking the language that Earth, Wind & Fire did. All music has what's called a motor rhythm. And the motor rhythm is basically a series of sounds that fit underneath the current of the music. So in Earth, Wind & Fire's case, that's based on Maurice White's drumming and Verdine White's bass playing. And they had a nice lock together that sounds like this. For this particular tune, it goes... So Michelle and I actually played in a popular a pop band that was led by a friend of Earth, Wind & Fire. So we have it on authority that that's how they used to rehearse. So what's cool about that is that if you get your students speaking that language first, not only are they doing something new besides notes and rhythms, but all of the issues that this band is having get solved very quickly. So you spend every single rehearsal day working on that language. And then when you're doing your 1-minute presentation, you would just remind yourself, you say, today I'm going to spend 5 minutes working on language. I'm going to do the motor rhythm from Earth, Wind & Fire and see how that goes. Have everyone call it back at me. The next thing to talk about is an ego-based concept, and this is about hierarchy. Everybody has nervous moments, and they want to make sure that they can hear themselves, and some people are proud about how they sound. And when you put all of that information together, you end up with some really bad balance problems. So the more that your students understand about who is supposed to be the loudest and who's supposed to be the softest, the more they understand about acoustics, and how long their sound travels, and the more they understand about that articulation and how it launches the note forward at a particular speed, those are all things that help the hierarchy. Once you have a band that functions well hierarchy-wise, you can do a lot of music very quickly. Paijo Vanguard is a good example. Vanguard is filled up with alumni that have gone through our program, and they all speak the language that we teach. So as a result, we can sight read music and get to those motor rhythms very quickly. So hierarchy is a very big deal for a song like this especially, but for every song. The next thing is the director is conducting, and that's kind of a no-no on a tune like this. And I remember getting the same criticism when I was first teaching. They just don't need it. What they need is, here is section B. What they need is you to move your body a little bit and show that it's funky, if it's a funk tune. But the waving in a 4/4 pattern is really unnecessary and often is out of pocket, so it can get you the opposite result. Posture is a big deal, and I would work on posture. So again, getting back to the plan thing, I might say language for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to work on the hierarchy for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to try doing this without conducting for 5 minutes, and then balance becomes the issue. And so what you're listening for as a director when you balance a band is overtones. And the more you do it, the more you'll understand what those overtones are you're looking for. But when you hear the band together, you have to admit that it sounds different. So start to get used to what those sounds are, start to understand the acoustics of it. The short story is, when everyone's playing together, you get more frequencies. So as part of the 1 minute plan, I might do a balance thing where today I'm going to have the trombones play by themselves and then with the band, and by themselves and with the band. The next thing I wanted to talk about is posture, and that could be another 5 minutes. And so you can ask people to demonstrate what they think is good posture and then give them a couple tips. And in fact, for that particular day, if it's Earth, Wind, and Fire, you might suggest that they're not going for the massive breath, but something a little more efficient that they can take quick breaths with. And so that posture involves a certain chest compression, and you could talk to them about that. Finally, and most importantly, the kids need to love the music. They need to know what that storyline is. So even if you have it right or wrong, you have to make something up and say, September is this Earth, Wind, and Fire song that means ... Get them thinking and imagining, which gets them away from reading the notes and rhythms. So in the 1 minute demonstration, I would basically be saying, I gave you an expanded version. I would basically be saying, meet and greet the band, talk about language right away, get them in the class and moving, then get the hierarchy happening just in case a few people are being too egotistical or don't have enough ego, and then work on that conducting thing, see what they need. These are all little 5 minute sections. You could work on balance, you could work on posture and storyline, and that would probably give you about 20 extra minutes if those all went fast, that you could work on the chart, notes and rhythms and that kind of stuff. When you contrast this kind of an approach versus almost all notes and rhythms, the difference is remarkable. It's the difference between a band that makes you want to move and enjoy versus a band that sounds clean and technical, but you just can't figure out why it doesn't make you want to move. These are all important things. I hope this helped. And like I said in the email, we're extending last week's assignments because there's quite a bit for you guys to deal with. And also we're getting a lot of feedback that people are getting behind with online assignments globally across all their classes. So we want to be sensitive to that. Send us an email. Let us know if you have any questions. I hope this helps. Thanks so much.